There is a silent truth that few recognize. Prosperity is not a limited resource for which we must compete. Most people walk through life as if there is a finite amount of wealth in the universe, as if one person's abundance necessarily means another's scarcity. This is the first and most fundamental illusion that keeps 97% of people trapped in perpetual cycles of limitation. Wallace D. Wattles revealed more than a century ago what few have ever truly understood. There's a science of getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic. There are certain laws which govern the process of acquiring wealth, and when these laws are learned and obeyed by any person, he will get rich with mathematical certainty. This is not a motivational theory or a vague spiritual concept. It is a statement about the fundamental nature of reality, as precise and immutable as the law of gravity. Prosperity follows exact laws, and these laws do not discriminate. They work for anyone who truly aligns with them, regardless of their background, education, or circumstances. Yet 97% of people continue to violate these laws daily, often without realizing it. They work tirelessly, study methodically, plan carefully, and yet they remain stuck in patterns of scarcity. Not because they lack effort, but because they violate the universal laws that govern the manifestation of prosperity. The illusion of scarcity manifests itself in seemingly harmless phrases that you may recognize. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to achieve little. The rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. These are not universal truths. They are limiting schedules that directly contradict the laws of prosperity. When we look at those who make up the truly prosperous 3%, we notice something curious. They don't necessarily work harder than others. They are not necessarily smarter. What sets them apart is an intuitive understanding of the universal laws that govern prosperity. They understand that abundance is not something you compete for, but something you create through correct alignment with these laws. The real revolution in Wattles' teachings is understanding that prosperity is not something you pursue. It is something you emanate. It is not an external condition that you achieve, but an internal state that you cultivate, and which then inevitably manifests in your outer world. The 97% who fail are constantly in a state of seeking, chasing wealth as if it were something separate from them, something to be captured. The prosperous 3% understand that true abundance is a natural expression of who they are, when aligned with the universal laws that govern all material creation. This fundamental understanding, this shift from the perception of scarcity to the awareness of unlimited abundance, is the first step in crossing the invisible line that separates the 97% who struggle from the 3% who thrive naturally. At the heart of the science of prosperity described by Wallace D. Wattles are three fundamental laws that, when understood and applied harmoniously, transform any person into a true driver of abundance. These laws operate continually whether you are aware of them or not. Just as the law of gravity does not require your belief to function. The first is the law of attraction, which establishes that you attract into your life what you focus your attention on consistently, with the greatest emotional charge. This is not a vague spiritual hypothesis, but an accurate description of how consciousness interacts with material reality. Your dominant thoughts, especially those charged with deep emotional conviction, create vibrational patterns that attract corresponding circumstances, people, and opportunities. The 97% who fail generally know this law. It has become almost a cultural cliché. However, they apply it in a contradictory way. They claim to want prosperity while maintaining a constant worry about debt. They declare intentions of abundance while harboring fears of scarcity. This energetic contradiction creates a confusing vibration that results in equally confusing manifestations, small successes followed by setbacks, cycles of gain and loss that seem to confirm your limiting beliefs. The second law is the law of right action, often misinterpreted by prosperity seekers. Wattles was unequivocal. It is not just any action that manifests wealth, but efficient action. This is not measured by the amount of effort or hours worked, but by the quality of alignment between action and creative intention. Effective action flows from an inner state of certainty and clarity, not anxiety or desperate need. The 97% act out of fear, competition, and necessity. They try tremendously, often to the point of exhaustion. However, this type of action, no matter how intense, violates the law of right action because it emerges from an inner state that is misaligned with true prosperity. The 3% act with quiet confidence, deliberate efficiency, and absolute certainty. Their external action is simply a natural extension of their internal conviction. The third and perhaps most powerful is the law of anticipated gratitude, the practice of feeling gratitude for something as if it were already present in your reality. This law transcends the common understanding of gratitude as mere appreciation for what already exists. Wattles wrote, "The law of gratitude is the natural principle that action and reaction are always equal and in opposite directions. When you express gratitude in advance, you create a receptive field that literally attracts what you are giving thanks for." The 97% practice contingent gratitude. They are only grateful for what they already have, or worse, they focus on what they lack. The 3% cultivate a constant state of gratitude for what they intended, as if it were already a present reality. This vibrational state is so powerful that it reorganizes the field of possibilities around you to manifest what has already been accepted internally as truth. The harmony of these three laws is what creates the perfect field for the manifestation of prosperity. However, this is precisely where the 97% fail. They apply these laws in a fragmented and inconsistent manner. They affirm positive intentions' law of attraction, but act out of fear, violating the law of right action, and then complain about the results, violating the law of gratitude. This incoherence creates a confusing frequency that cannot manifest consistent prosperity. The 3% understand that these laws are not isolated tools, but aspects of a single integrated science. They hold thoughts of abundance, which generate emotions of abundance, which inspire actions aligned with abundance, while feeling gratitude for what they already consider manifest. This total alignment creates a harmonic field so powerful that prosperity flows to them as naturally as water flows to the lowest point. This harmony is not a technique to be occasionally practiced, but a way of being. It is the crucial difference between those who occasionally manifest positive results and those who live in a continual state of expansion and abundance. The universe is, in its most fundamental essence, responsive to thought. This is not a mystical statement, but an observation about the nature of reality confirmed by both ancient philosophical systems and the most advanced frontiers of quantum physics. Wallace D. Wattles expressed this truth simply and directly. Thought is the only force capable of producing tangible wealth from amorphous substance. Thought is not merely a brain activity. It is a vibrational force that interacts with the limitless field of possibilities that constitutes our universe. Each thought emits a specific frequency that attracts and organizes energy and matter into corresponding patterns. This is the first point where the 97% violate the law of prosperity. They do not recognize or utilize the creative power of their own thoughts. Most people think reactively, allowing their minds to be shaped by external circumstances. When the bills arrive, they think about scarcity. When they see others thriving, they think in comparison. When they face challenges, they think about limitations. This reactive thinking pattern creates a self-perpetuating cycle of experiences that seem to confirm your concerns. The 3% who dominate prosperity understand that creative thinking precedes all material manifestation. They deliberately cultivate thoughts that are aligned with what they want to create, regardless of current circumstances. This is not an exercise in denying reality, but a conscious application of the law that governs how reality is formed. The difference is subtle, but transformative. While the 97% think in response to what they observe, the 3% think to create what they want to observe. Creative thinking has specific qualities that you can deliberately cultivate. First, it is clear and focused, not vague or scattered. The 97% have nebulous desires for more money or a better life. The 3% create vivid and detailed mental images of what they intend to manifest, with the same clarity with which an architect visualizes a building before drawing its plans. Second, creative thinking is emotionally charged. They are not mere mechanically repeated verbal affirmations, but mental images infused with the genuine feeling of already possessing what one desires. Wattles emphasized that thought imbued with feeling is the most powerful force. When you combine the clear mental image with the corresponding emotion, you create an irresistible vibration that the universal field cannot ignore. Third, creative thinking is sustained, not an occasional visualization, but a consistently cultivated state of mind, the 97% alternate, between moments of hope and long periods of doubt and worry. The 3% maintain their dominant mental view even when external evidence seems to contradict it, understanding that physical manifestations always follow, never precede. The established mental pattern. The practice of creative thinking requires the development of an often neglected faculty, the ability to maintain a mental image regardless of external circumstances. This is the true faith Wattles was referring to, not blind belief, but the ability to mentally see the invisible and hold it with such conviction that it eventually materializes. To develop this ability, start by dedicating specific periods of time to deliberate visualization. See yourself already living the prosperity you want to manifest. Feel the emotions of gratitude, joy, and fulfillment as if your intention were already reality. As this practice deepens, you will notice that your mind naturally begins to inhabit this creative state. Even during daily activities, the self-defeating thought patterns that characterize the 97% doubt, worry, criticism, comparison, scarcity can be recognized and replaced. Each time you notice a thought that is misaligned with prosperity, you have the opportunity to reorient your mind toward the creative pattern that supports your vision. This mental discipline is not a technique. It is a fundamental transformation in the way you interact with reality. It's the difference between being a passive observer of circumstances and a conscious creator of your experience. When you understand and apply the power of creative thinking, you cross the first great divide between the 97% who react to life and the 3% who create it intentionally. At the heart of Wallace D. Wattles' teachings is a revolutionary concept that transcends the limitations of scientific materialism and dogmatic religious thought. The idea of thinking substance. Wattles wrote, "There is a thinking matter of which all things are made, and which, in its original state, pervades, penetrates, and fills the interstices of the universe." This thinking substance is not a philosophical abstraction, but the very matrix of reality, an intelligent, responsive, infinite field that constitutes the essence of all that exists. What makes this understanding so transformative is the direct relationship between this universal substance and our individual thoughts. The thinking substance responds to human thoughts, shaping itself according to the mental impressions it receives. What modern quantum physics now describes as the wave field of possibilities, or the uncollapsed wave function, has striking similarities to what Wattles intuited. Contemporary scientists confirm that, at the quantum level, matter does not have defined properties until it is observed. The observer's consciousness is intrinsically involved in determining the observed reality. The 97% who remain trapped in cycles of scarcity are unaware or ignorant of this fundamental relationship between their consciousness and the unified field that responds to it. They see the material world as something solid, fixed, and separate from their consciousness, something to be manipulated through force, effort, and will. This perception of separation is precisely what keeps you disconnected from the natural flow of abundance. The prosperous 3% understand, even intuitively, that they are not separate from the universal field of prosperity. They are individualized expressions of that field. Your relationship with abundance is not one of pursuit or achievement, but of resonance and expression. They do not need to attract prosperity from some external source. They just need to align their individual consciousness with the abundant nature of the unified field. This alignment occurs through conscious communication with the thinking substance. Wattles described this process not as a request or plea, but as a clear and confident transmission. You don't need to beg or plead. You just need to know what you want and believe you will receive it. This communication does not happen through words, but through the vibrational frequency of your sustained thoughts and feelings. Thinking substance responds not to what you say you want, or even what you think you want intellectually, but to the dominant vibrational state you maintain. This is where 97% fail to communicate. They declare intentions of prosperity while maintaining vibrational states of worry, fear, and doubt. This energetic contradiction creates confusing communication with the field, resulting in equally confusing manifestations. Effective communication with thinking substance requires vibrational clarity, an alignment between thought, emotion, belief, and expectation. The 3% cultivate this clarity through specific practices: meditation focused on abundance, visualization infused with genuine emotion, statements of truth made with absolute conviction, and maintaining a state of gratitude as if they have already received what they desire. This communication is not an occasional technique, but an ongoing way of being. The truly prosperous maintain a constant conversation with the unified field through the quality of their dominant mental and emotional states. They understand that each thought is an instruction to the thinking substance, each emotion a frequency that the substance recognizes and responds to. To develop this communication, begin by cultivating periods of mental silence where you can feel your connection to the unified field. Into the space of stillness, introduce the clear image of what you want to manifest, not as something absent that you want to attract, but as a reality already existing in the field of possibilities that you are bringing into expression through your aligned consciousness. Practice speaking to the thinking substance as if it were an infinite intelligence listening to you, because that is exactly what it is, not as a separate entity, but as the very medium in which your consciousness exists. This communication does not require specific rituals or special formulas. It only requires clarity, conviction, and vibrational consistency. As you refine this communication, you begin to notice subtle evidence that the field is responding: meaningful synchronicities, unexpected insights, aligned opportunities that arise naturally. These are signs that your individual consciousness is coming into harmonic resonance with the unified field of prosperity. This resonance is the fundamental difference between the 3% who experience prosperity as a natural flow and the 97% who see it as a hard achievement. When you understand and apply this conscious communication with thinking substance, you transcend the limitations of consensual reality and begin to experience the co-creative power that has always been your birthright. One of the most fundamental distinctions between the 97% who struggle and the 3% who thrive is in the way they relate to the world through a competitive mentality or creative consciousness. This difference in perspective influences every thought, decision, and action, inevitably determining the material results that manifest. The competitive mindset emerges from the belief in scarcity, the perception that there are limited resources for which we must compete. This vision creates a constant state of comparison, anxiety, and fear. The 97% predominantly live in this paradigm. They observe what others have and feel they have to fight to get their share before it's gone. This perspective is not only emotionally draining, it is fundamentally incompatible with the laws of prosperity. Wallace D. Wattles addressed this contradiction directly. You don't have to take anything from anyone. You don't have to compete for anything. You don't have to make dishonest deals or take advantage of anyone. You don't have to cheat or take anything. You don't have to make anyone work for less than they're worth. The competitive mindset produces contradictory results even when it appears to work temporarily. One can win in a competitive scenario and acquire wealth, but this prosperity is fundamentally unstable because the vibrational frequency of competition continues to operate, attracting new scenarios of struggle, potential loss, and constant anxiety. In contrast, creation consciousness emerges from the understanding of unlimited abundance, the recognition that the true source of prosperity is the infinite thinking substance that responds to creative thought. The 3% operate from this awareness. They do not seek to take what already exists, but to create new value through aligned thinking and inspired action. This shift in perspective completely transforms the experience of wealth creation. Instead of fighting to get a share of the limited cake, you become a baker who creates entirely new cakes. Your prosperity does not diminish anyone else's. In fact, it often increases it through the value you bring into the world. The transformation from competitive mindset to creative consciousness begins with recognizing the signs of competition in your own thinking, constant comparison with others, feelings of envy when you see others' prosperity, a sense of urgency caused by the fear of losing, opportunities, anxiety about winning in negotiations or transactions. To cultivate creative awareness, start by asking, how can I create value? Instead of how can I earn more? This simple reorientation shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility. The prosperous 3% are constantly focused on creating value, finding unmet needs, solving problems, improving the lives of others, developing innovations that benefit many. This orientation toward value creation does not mean ignoring practical business or market considerations. The truly prosperous are often very attentive to these aspects. The difference is in the underlying intent. They analyze the market not to extract value, but to determine where they can best contribute. They negotiate not to win at the expense of others, but to establish mutually beneficial exchanges. Waddles offer practical guidance for this approach. You must give to each person more in used value than you receive from him in monetary value. This simple yet profound formula captures the essence of creation versus competition. When you consistently deliver more value than you extract, you align with the expansive flow of universal prosperity. To apply this principle to your life, identify your unique skills, talents, and resources, your creative fingerprint. How can you apply these gifts in ways that create exceptional value? How can your natural passions translate into meaningful contributions? When you find this intersection between your genuine enthusiasm and the world's real needs, you discover the path to sustainable prosperity. Also notice how the competitive mindset can disguise itself in your life. Many people who claim to value cooperation still maintain underlying patterns of competitive thinking. They can use collaborative language while internally remaining focused on beating or overtaking others. This inconsistency creates a contradictory vibration that limits your ability to manifest authentic prosperity. True creative consciousness is not an intellectual strategy, but a fundamental transformation of your relationship with life. It's recognizing that you are not a competitor in a zero-sum game, but a co-creator in a universe of infinite possibilities. When you fully understand and embody this truth, you cross another crucial boundary that separates the 97% who struggle from the 3% who thrive naturally. Of all the practices that distinguish the truly prosperous 3%, none is more transformative than anticipatory gratitude, the ability to feel genuine gratitude for something as if it were already present in your experience. This practice transcends the common understanding of gratitude as mere appreciation for what already exists, elevating it to a creative force that literally draws into your life what you are grateful for. Wallace D. Wattles paid special attention to this principle. Gratitude keeps your mind in close contact with the all and prevents you from falling into a competitive mindset. The moment you allow your mind to become competitive, you begin to fall from the creative to the competitive plane, and your ability to create diminishes. Anticipatory gratitude is not merely a psychological technique, it is a specific vibrational frequency that puts you in direct resonance with the state of already receiving what you desire. This resonance creates a receptive field so powerful that it literally rearranges the circumstances and possibilities around you to manifest what you have already internally accepted as truth. The 97% practice what we can call conditional gratitude. They are only grateful for what they can already see, touch, or objectively verify. This limited form of gratitude, although positive, does not have the creative power of anticipated gratitude. It is reactive, not generative. It is a response to what already exists, not a force that creates what is not yet manifested. The truly prosperous 3% cultivate anticipatory gratitude as a constant vibrational state. They are not grateful because they receive it because they are grateful. This subtle but profound reversal is the key to activating the truly transformative power of gratitude as a creative force. To cultivate anticipatory gratitude, start by dedicating specific periods of time to intentional practice. During these moments, Allow yourself to feel, not just imagine or affirm, but feel in every cell of your being, the already fulfilled reality of your intention. Give thanks with the same genuine emotion you would feel if what you want was already present in material form. This practice requires a temporary suspension of consensual reality, the ability to enter a state of consciousness where your intention is already real, even if your physical senses cannot yet verify it. Paradoxically, it is this willingness to temporarily transcend sensory evidence that allows new evidence to manifest in your field of experience. Anticipatory gratitude creates what we might call a manifestation loop, a self-reinforcing cycle where gratitude for what you intend to create accelerates its manifestation, which in turn inspires more gratitude, further expanding your ability to manifest. This ascending cycle is like a spiral of creation that continually expands in speed and magnitude. To integrate this practice into your daily life, create gratitude anchors, regular reminders to pause and feel gratitude in advance for your intentions. These anchors can be specific moments of the day, physical objects that you associate with your vision, or recurring experiences like waking up in the morning or falling asleep at night. A particularly powerful practice is gratitude visualization, combining vivid mental images of your already realized intention with the genuine emotion of gratitude for its manifestation. This combination of clear imagery and authentic emotion creates an irresistible vibrational pattern that thinking substance cannot ignore. It is important to note that advanced gratitude is not a form of denial or self-deception. It does not ignore current reality, but simply recognizes that reality is fluid and responsive to consciousness. You can be fully aware of present circumstances, while simultaneously feeling gratitude for the future that already exists as potential. The 97% often confuse anticipated gratitude with false optimism or magical thinking. The crucial difference is in the vibrational quality. Gratitude in advance is felt at the cellular level, not just affirmed intellectually. It is a state of being, not a mental technique. It is characterized by a quiet conviction, not an anxious hope. As you regularly cultivate this vibrational state, you will begin to notice a fundamental shift in your experience of manifestation. What once seemed to require effort and struggle begins to flow with surprising ease. Aligned opportunities arise spontaneously, needed resources appear at the perfect time, and meaningful synchronicities become commonplace. This experience of magnetic ease, where what you want seems to be drawn to you without excessive effort, is the sign that you are aligned with the creative power of anticipatory gratitude. It is the natural state of the 3% who understand that prosperity is not something you chase, but something you emanate through the vibrational frequency you consistently maintain. What truly distinguishes the 3% who consistently thrive from the 97% who perpetually struggle is a quality of consciousness that transcends all techniques, strategies, and methods, unshakable certainty. This is not an intellectual conviction or a verbal affirmation, but a state of consciousness so deeply rooted that it becomes the very lens through which you perceive reality. Wallace D. Wattles called this quality substantial faith, the ability to see the invisible and hold it as more real than the visible. He wrote, "The ability to receive wealth depends on thinking and believing in a certain way, a way that makes one's thinking a certainty impenetrable by doubt. This unshakable certainty is fundamentally different from hope. Hope is future-oriented. I hope this happens. Certainty is anchored in the present. This is already real on the causal plane, and its physical expression is inevitable. The 97% hope and desire. The 3% know and patiently await the manifestation of what they already recognize as completed on the mental plane. The biggest blocks to the manifestation of prosperity are precisely those mental emotional states that disturb this certainty: doubt, fear, and worry. These are not merely unpleasant psychological states. They are specific vibrational frequencies that interrupt the creative process and cancel the clear transmission of your intentions to the thinking substance. Doubt divides your creative energy, sending contradictory signals to the unified field. Fear constricts your consciousness, limiting what you can perceive and receive. Worry fixes your attention on unwanted outcomes, directing creative energy precisely toward what you don't want. Together, these states create a chaotic vibrational pattern that cannot manifest consistent prosperity. To cultivate unshakable certainty, you must first recognize these blocks when they arise. Not to fight them, but to transform them. Every moment of doubt is an opportunity to reaffirm your certainty. Every feeling of fear is an invitation to expand your awareness. Every worrying thought is a reminder to refocus your creative attention. A powerful practice for developing certainty is what we might call future presencing, the ability to mentally and emotionally inhabit the future reality you want to create, experiencing it so vividly that it becomes more real to you than your present circumstances. This is not an occasional visualization, but a regular and deliberate immersion into the vibrational state of your already realized intention. Another essential practice is one-piece thinking, the discipline of maintaining a consistent, unified state of mind, free from internal contradictions. The 97% maintain divided thoughts. They desire prosperity while fearing scarcity, affirming abundance while worrying about limitations. This fragmented thinking creates a confusing vibration that cannot manifest clear results. The 3% cultivates one-piece thinking, a coherent, unified state of mind where every thought, belief, emotion, and expectation is perfectly aligned with your intention for prosperity. This internal coherence creates a vibratory signal so clear and powerful that the universal field responds with equally clear and powerful manifestations. To integrate all of the previous principles into a practical method, establish what we might call a daily alignment practice, a dedicated period each day to fully align your consciousness with the universal law of prosperity. During this time, cultivate clear creative thinking, consciously communicate with thinking substance, align with the mindset of creation, non-competition, practice anticipatory gratitude, and strengthen your unshakable certainty. This practice is not a superfluous ritual, but a conscious realignment with the fundamental truth of who you are and how reality works. It is a daily reminder that you are not a limited being struggling in a world of scarcity, but an individualized expression of infinite thinking substance, naturally destined for full and abundant expression. As this practice deepens, you begin to experience what Wattles called the right way of doing, a state where your actions flow naturally from your aligned consciousness. Without excessive effort or tension, your decisions become clearer, your interactions more harmonious, and your results more consistent with your intentions. This state of alignment is not achieved through complex techniques or elaborate rituals. It is cultivated through the persistent and patient practice of the fundamental principles, until they become not just something you do, but something you are, your natural and spontaneous expression in the world. Unshakable certainty is the culmination of all the previous principles, the state of consciousness that naturally emerges when you truly understand the universal law of prosperity and completely align your being with it. It is the final frontier that separates the 97% who struggle from the 3% who thrive naturally, abundantly, and continually. The universal law of prosperity is not an abstract concept or theoretical philosophy. It is a living, active force that continually operates in your life. Whether you are aware of it or not, like gravity, it doesn't require your belief to work, but unlike gravity, its manifestations can be consciously directed when you understand and apply its principles. Along the way, we explore the fundamental distinctions that separate the 97% who remain trapped in cycles of scarcity from the 3% who experience prosperity as their natural state. We have seen how the illusion of scarcity contrasts with the truth of unlimited abundance. We understand the three fundamental laws that govern the manifestation of prosperity. We recognize the transformative power of creative thought and our direct connection to infinite thinking substance. We identify the crucial difference between the competitive mindset and the creative consciousness. We discover the generative power of anticipated gratitude. And finally, we glimpse the final frontier, the unshakable certainty that transforms knowledge into manifestation. Now you are faced with a choice. a decision that determines whether you will remain among the 97% who understand these principles intellectually but fail to apply them fully, or join the 3% who embody them so deeply that prosperity becomes their natural expression. This decision is not trivial. It is not a mere passing intention or a casual commitment. It is a fundamental reorientation of your consciousness, a decision to align every thought, emotion, belief, and action with the universal law of prosperity, not just occasionally or partially, but completely and consistently. Start today by implementing the daily alignment practice we've established. Dedicate at least 15 minutes each morning to align your consciousness completely with these principles. During this time, cultivate clear, creative thinking about what you want to manifest. Communicate consciously with thinking substance. Reaffirm your identity as a creator, not a competitor. Practice anticipatory gratitude for what you are manifesting, and strengthen your unshakable certainty in the inevitability of its manifestation. Throughout the day, establish alignment breaks, brief moments to reconnect with these principles in the midst of your activities. These breaks do not need to be long. Even 30 seconds of renewed awareness can realign your vibration and strengthen your connection to the flow of prosperity. Observe your habitual patterns of thought, feeling, and expression, recognizing when they are out of alignment with universal law. Not to judge or criticize yourself, but to recognize opportunities for conscious realignment. Every moment of doubt, fear, or worry is simply an invitation to return to the deeper truth of your thriving nature. Always remember, prosperity is not something you chase. It is something you emanate when aligned with your true nature. It is not an external condition that you achieve through effort, but an internal state that you cultivate through alignment. It is not a distant possibility, but your natural birthright, the full and abundant expression of who you truly are. The decision is now in your hands. You can continue as you have been doing and reap the same results you have been reaping. Or you can, right now, commit yourself completely to these principles and join the ranks of the 3% who have discovered the timeless secret to true prosperity. Universal law is always operating, always responding, always manifesting in accordance with your dominant consciousness. When you completely align your consciousness with this law, when you think, feel, believe, and act in perfect harmony with unlimited abundance, you cannot help but manifest the prosperity that has always been your divine right. The choice is yours, and the time for that choice is now.